and welcome to our 9th Crafternoon Arts activity. My name is Tara and I work for the Ottawa Public Library. Today I'm really excited to share an amazing art project with you. Are you ready? Let's get started. Activate your creative mind, warm up your fingers, and if you think you might need some help with this arts activity, you can always ask a grown-up. Today we are going to be creating incredible creatures. You might have heard the word ink in there. That's because for the very final step of the project, we are going to be using a dark ink marker to make our creature come alive. To create your incredible creature, here is a list of items you're going to need. To complete your incredible creature, you will need a sheet of white paper. Now, because we're going to be using some watercolor paints today, if you happen to have a sheet of paper that's a little bit thicker, that's a great choice. But if you only have computer printer paper, that should work fine as well. You'll also need a pencil, an eraser, a pencil sharpener, a paintbrush, or if you don't have a paintbrush, a piece of sponge will work extremely well. You'll also need a black marker, a container filled with water, some watercolor paints, a tray for mixing and diluting the paint. You might want a paper towel on hand. And for the finishing touches, to add a frame around your artwork, you'll also want to have a glue stick and a sheet of colored construction paper. For the first step of this art project, we're going to begin with our sheet of paper and our pencil. You may also want to have your eraser and your pencil sharpener on hand. You're going to choose a creature to draw, and then we're going to fill it in with a whole bunch of interesting textures and patterns. It can be an underwater creature, it could be a land creature, it could be a bird, it could be an insect, it could even be a prehistoric beast or some kind of mythical creature. It's really up to you. Today I'm going to be drawing an octopus. So I'm going to begin with my pencil by drawing the outline, and then I'm going to fill them in with a whole bunch of really neat textures. Now, you don't have to choose an octopus. You can choose whatever animal or creature you'd like to do. But I like all of the tentacles that are found on an octopus. So I'm going to go with that today. And all of the arms are going to go in different directions. Now that I've drawn the outline of my creature, I'm going to start adding some interesting patterns and textures to add detail to the inside of the shape. Now, because we're artists, we don't have to draw things completely realistically. We can have a little bit of fun with this. So an octopus doesn't normally have crazy patterns on it, but we're going to add some anyways. And an octopus doesn't normally have a regular face like we would see on other animals, but I'm going to give him one anyways, at least a couple of eyes. So you can watch me, and with your own creature, you're going to add in some really interesting textures and patterns to make your creature really cool. Now that we've finished drawing our incredible creatures and filling them in with a whole bunch of interesting details, it is now time to get out our watercolor paints. You'll also need a paintbrush or a piece of sponge, a container filled with water, and your tray for mixing. Today I'm going to be using the sponge, but you can also use the paintbrush for this step of the project. Whether you're using your paintbrush or your sponge, you're going to take whichever one you're using and you're going to dip it in your water. Try not to have too much extra water, but you still want to have a decent amount. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over the paper without any paint on the sponge or on your paintbrush. We're just going to wet the paper. Once that's finished, dip your sponge in the water again or your paintbrush. Choose the color you're going to use. I'm going to be using several, so I'll be using turquoise, blue, green, and maybe even a little bit of purple because I want mine to look like an underwater scene since my octopus is an ocean dweller. Now, I've just dipped my sponge back in the water after I got some paint on it, and I'm going to dip it in the mixing tray a little bit. I'm going to take a little bit more paint on my sponge, dip it gently in the water again, and onto the mixing tray one more time. So now I've got a nice turquoise color happening, and I'm going to add that to different little areas of my artwork. So I think I'll put a little bit over here and a little bit over here and maybe some down here in this corner. Okay, I think I'm going to switch to another color now. So I'm going to dip my sponge in the water to rinse it out a little bit. Squeeze out any excess water, and I think I'm going to move on to a darker blue now. So maybe this one over here looks nice and dark. So I've got a good amount of paint on here. I'm going to dip my sponge ever so slightly in the water and get some more in my tray. I'm going to go back over to my paint, pick up a little bit more paint with the sponge, dip it ever so slightly in the water, and put some in the tray. Okay, now I've got a nice amount of paint. I'm going to be adding some blue, dark blue now, to my background in different types of splotches. Okay, I'm going to switch to another color now. I think I'd like, a little bit of seaweed green sounds good to me. This color looks nice. So I'm rubbing my sponge inside the color I want to get lots of paint on the sponge, dipping it into the water, and getting it into my tray. I'll do that again. Dip it in the water and get lots of nice color into my tray. Okay, where should I put my green? Well, there's a nice space right here for some green. And this corner up here looks like another good spot for some green. And maybe I'll add a little bit down here. Okay, I think I have room for one more color. So I think I'll choose another blue this time, another dark blue. I think that will be really nice. Okay, let's fill in the rest of the empty spaces with this nice dark blue. Okay, I am finished with my paint. I'm going to let this dry, and once it's dry, I'm going to use my black marker to trace over all of my pencil lines. I'll see you soon. It took a little bit of time and patience, but my artwork is now dry, so I am ready to move on to the next step, and you're going to need a black marker or a dark marker for this step of the project. All of the lines that we created with our pencil, we are now going to trace over with our black marker so that our creature is really visible within this nice background that we've just painted. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hooray! Our incredible creature is complete. Now all we need to do is add a frame. So if you'd like to add a frame, now is the time to get out your sheet of colored construction paper and your glue stick. We are going to put some glue on the back of our artwork, and then we will center it nicely onto our sheet of colored construction paper to give it a beautiful framed finish. Make sure you put a lot of glue all around the edges of your artwork so that it will stick well to the construction paper. Turn your artwork over, center it nicely on your sheet of construction paper so that our frame is equal all the way around. Press down nicely. And voila, it is complete. Congratulations and good job. Well, I'd really like to thank you for joining me today for our 9th Crafternoon Arts activity. I hope you had fun learning how to create your incredible creature and that you're happy with the results. It's already time to say goodbye, but if you enjoyed today's activity, don't forget to like this video, and I also invite you to subscribe to our Ottawa Public Library YouTube channel. There are other Crafternoon activities waiting for you to discover. There are also many other videos for young people that you might be interested in. I hope to see you again sometime soon, and it's been wonderful to spend the summer with you. Keep being creative. Bye.